guys, hope you're having a good day. I wanted to read you another story. This story is called She Persisted. So this is about 13 different American women who changed the world because they didn't give up. So I'm probably not going to read, I'll read them all to you. It's not too long. Sometimes being a girl isn't easy. At some point, someone probably will tell you no, will tell you to be quiet, and may even tell you your dreams are impossible. Don't listen to them. These 13 American women certainly did not take no for an answer. They persisted. So our first woman is Harriet Tubman. Raise your hand if you've heard of Harriet Tubman before. Harriet Tubman was born a slave, and her story could have ended there. Instead, she persisted, escaping from slavery and becoming the most famous conductor on the Underground Railroad. She risked her life many times to lead countless slaves to freedom, including her family, friends, and strangers. Every person she led to freedom arrived safely. I should fight for my liberty as long as my strength lasted. And she actually saved over 100 slaves. I can't remember how many trips. It was a lot of trips that she took back down into the slave states to rescue slaves. There's some books on Epic about her if you're interested. It's very cool. All right, the next woman is Helen Keller. Once Helen Keller became blind and deaf as a toddler. Few people thought she'd be able to learn to read, write, or speak. So that means that she couldn't see and she couldn't hear when she was a toddler. So like 2 years old, can you imagine? So can you imagine it'd be hard to read and write? But she persisted. Helen learned how to do all three and not only became the first person with deaf blindness to graduate from college, but she used her story to help people fight for more opportunities for people with disabilities in the United States and around the world. One can never consent to creep when one feels an impulse to soar. And she was actually an author. You can read more about her on Epic as well. All right, this next woman is named Clara Limlick. After her family fled poverty and the threat of violence in Ukraine for a new home in New York City, Clara Limlick got a job working at a garment factory. That means they make clothes. She wrote that the factory's conditions made women into machines, and so she persisted, organizing picket lines and strikes that ultimately helped win better pay, shorter hours, and safer working conditions for thousands of workers, both men and women. I am one of those who suffers from the abuses described here, and I move that we go on a general strike. So she encouraged them to strike, and what a strike is when all the workers get together and they stop working to get some demands that they want to happen. So this happens a lot when people want a raise or, like it said, better conditions. So maybe like better health insurance. This next woman is Nellie Bly. Nellie Bly became a reporter in part because a male writer had said that working women were a monstrosity, and she wanted to prove that women could do anything because a long time ago, women didn't really have jobs. At times, putting her safety at risk, she persisted through her career in exposing real monstrosities, pretending to be a sweatshop worker and a patient in a mental hospital to show how badly people were being treated. I have never written a word that did not come from my heart. I never shall. So she's like a reporter, a journalist, and she exposed some really bad things about how people were being treated. The next woman is Virginia Apgar. Inspired from an early age by her brother's childhood illnesses, Virginia was determined to be a doctor, long before many girls had such dreams, because used to only men would be doctors. Even though she qualified to become a surgeon, the male surgeon at her hospital discouraged her because she was a woman. Nevertheless, she persisted, becoming an anesthesiologist and creating the Apgar score to test a newborn baby's health, which hospitals all over the world still use today. Nobody, but nobody, is going to stop breathing on me. It's a good thing that she didn't give up. I'm sure she saved a lot of babies' lives. All right, the next woman is Maria Tallchief. After Maria's family moved to California, partly to support Maria's dreams of becoming a dancer, she was teased by students in school for her Native American heritage and later was encouraged to change her last name to something that sounded Russian, since many professional dancers at the time were from Russia. She persisted, ignoring all the taunting and poor advice to become the first great American prima ballerina. It never occurred to me to say, it hurts to do that. So even though people were giving her a hard time, she ignored them. And she went on to become one of the best ballerinas. All right, the next woman is Claudette Colvin. As a 15-year-old riding a bus home from school in Montgomery, Alabama, Claudette was expected to give up her seat to a white woman just because she was African American. This sounds like another person I know. Anybody know? If you said Rosa Parks, and that you were right. In her refusal to get up, she persisted in taking a stand for what's right, helping to inspire Rosa Parks to make the same choice 9 months later. So this woman did it before Rosa Parks. An act many point to as a starting of the modern civil rights movement. I knew then and I know now that when it comes to justice, there is no easy way to get it. You can't sugarcoat it. You have to take a stand and say, this is not right. Oh, I wonder if any of you know who this next one is. Anyone know who Ruby Bridges is? I hope you do. When Ruby Bridges was in kindergarten, many schools across America, particularly in the South, still refused African American students their equal right to an education. Ruby wouldn't be treated like a second-class student, and she persisted, walking for weeks past angry, hateful protesters to integrate an all-white elementary school in New Orleans. That fateful walk to school began a journey, and we all must work together to continue moving forward. And I know there's some books and epic about her if you're interested. She was really young. She was like in first or second grade when she went to a school that was all white students except for her. And she had to walk past a bunch of mean people on the way. It was very scary for a small girl like that, but she stayed the whole year. She did a good job. All right, the next woman is Margaret Chase Smith. As the first woman to serve as both a U.S. representative and a U.S. senator, Margaret could have let the fact alone be her legacy. Instead, she persisted in championing women's rights and more opportunities for women in the military, standing up for free speech and supporting space exploration. The head of NASA once noted that we wouldn't have put a man on the moon without Margaret. And she says, the right way is not always the popular and easy way. Standing for right when it is unpopular is a true test of moral character. Oh, I wonder if any of you know who Sally Ride is. Sally Ride always believed women could succeed in any math or science career. Although not everyone agreed, she persisted, and she became the first African woman in space. Oh, American woman in space. But that wasn't enough for Sally. She traveled into space once more and then created science and engineering programs specifically for girls so she could help generations of young women achieve their dreams, too, both on Earth and in outer space. And she says, Young girls need to see role models in whatever careers they may choose, just so they can picture themselves doing those jobs someday. You can't be what you can't see. So she helped, by being the first astronaut in space that was a woman, she helped encourage other girls to want to be astronauts when they grew up. The next woman, Florence Griffith Joyner. When, as a kid, Florence visited her father in the Mojave Desert, he would urge her to run faster and faster, to run as fast as a jackrabbit. Even when she had to leave college to help support her family, she persisted in her training on the track, then went back to school and got faster and faster. Her unbroken world records in the 100-meter and 200-meter sprints set in the 1988 Summer Olympics means she is still the fastest woman ever. And here's what she says. When anyone tells me I can't do anything, I'm just not listening anymore. Here she is, running so fast. Fastest woman ever. All right, I don't know if any of you have heard of Oprah. She's very famous. Oprah Winfrey's grandmother expected Oprah to follow in her footsteps and become a maid. Oprah knew, even as a little girl, that her dreams would take her somewhere else. She persisted in turning those dreams into her reality and became a media superstar, working in movies, books, magazines, theater, and most of all, television, where the Oprah Winfrey Show remains the highest rated talk show of all time. And she actually owns her own network and she owns her own magazine. She's very famous. And she says, the biggest adventure you can ever take is to live the life of your dreams. Okay, here's the last one. Sonia Sotomayor. Watching fictional judges on television inspired Sonia to want to be a real-life judge when she grew up. She knew she'd have to speak English as well as she spoke Spanish, study hard in school, and manage her diabetes before she could one day wear a judge's robe with a gavel in hand. She persisted, eventually becoming a Supreme Court justice and the first ever Latina to sit on America's highest court. So the Supreme Court are the top judges in the whole country. So it's quite an honor. And she says, I have never had to face anything that could overwhelm the native optimism and stubborn perseverance I am blessed with. So here's her as a little girl. And here's her as a Supreme Court justice. And I actually just bought a book. No, which one is it? Just Ask, and I'll read that to you next week. That's one that she wrote. So, if anyone ever tells you no, if anyone ever says your voice isn't important or your dreams are too big, remember these women. They persisted, and so should you. So for today's reflection, I want you to think of your dream. Even if it seems hard and challenging, we can learn a lesson from them and we can know to persist. So on Seesaw, I want you to think of your dream. It's different than a goal, right? A goal is something that we want to achieve now, and a dream can be when we're grown up, okay, or a big dream. So you're going to post that in Seesaw. All right? Enjoy the rest of your day. Talk to you soon.